Hi there. This is Zach Watson. Today is October 3rd, and I wanted to share a little bit about what our family is going through. Main reason is more for myself than anyone else in the future, but today's just a challenging day. It's an interesting season of my and our lives, and I just wanted to share, and I think I want to do this more for myself, is like soundboarding some of the things that are going through my head, and hoping my management team doesn't necessarily hear this, but it's whatever. So the past couple weeks, a couple genres that are intersecting in my life right now. I have been diligently working on having my activities on TikTok and Instagram become something that brings in enough money that I could go full time. I've made somewhere around $16,000, $8,000 from TikTok beta program, $8,000 from coaching clients since about May. So the proof of concept is there, and I'm at the stage right now where I have enough relationship goals consults, which are pretty much like a sales call, where I'm giving some free coaching and then asking if they're open to working with me long term. I'm having enough of those where I can only handle so many, and I can only take on so many clients. I have 5 right now, and I can't really take much more, so I've had to actually up my rates because too many people were saying yes to the low rate. Not low, but like the $1,000 rate. So my coaching package right now is $3,000, just as a backdrop to this conversation. So that's one thing. The second thing is in my sales career. I worked really hard last year to be the sales rep of the year within our organization. I got promoted to an account executive role where we are closing deals rather than just booking meetings. And I don't know that I've been floundering, but I have not been thriving. I would say I've been a 70-80%er in terms of both performance and maybe effort. And I think part of it is I have this bad habit. I think this is a human thing where I kind of have one foot out the door a little bit in every moment where I have a chance to either make a new video or say yes to joining a podcast versus like spending an extra hour to work on a sales pitch or a deck or send out some emails. Like I think about every single time that I have the chance to do either one. And some days I choose one, some days I choose the other. And the third part in this season of life we're in is, so Alyssa and I would love to have a second child. We don't currently see the path forward at this very moment, and I think we would both love to have a second child, and her body is not where it needs to be, like health wise, for us to do that, as well as we're not there financially to have us not bang our head against the walls. We are living in our second home. Our first one is a multifamily, is now fully rented out, and we went into some significant debt going into this new house with a lot of those upfront cost renovations. So just for a backdrop, these are the seasons that we're in, and so Alyssa has been trying for some time to lose the baby weight. It's been challenging as she's been on antidepressants, and recently we're introduced to microdosing, and she's actually been able to drop Zoloft, and she's been able to make adjustments in that way. And I know Zoloft was a really tough one to lose weight with. She has described it's almost like you're always high. It's like you always have the munchies, and you're happy for the most part. So microdosing has really helped curb some of that that metabolism and like that want to eat, and she's still been significantly disappointed with her results. And so she is a long-winded way of arriving to where we are today. She's been working on losing weight via fasting, which she's been doing multi-day fasts with like MCT oil and water, and then she'll have like refeed days on weekends, or like if someone breaks the seal, like buys her lunch when she's at work, then she'll do that. In that process, because of some of the things she's been through, the meds she's been on, she got gallstones the other day. And so right now she's actually in the hospital because she had some really significant pain earlier this week. They said if it comes back, come back in, we'll have emergency surgery. That emergency surgery is happening today. And it's a little scary, not too scary. It's much more just like logistical. Doesn't seem like it's a very high-risk surgery. I've gone through something similar when I got my appendix out, where it was like one day I was fine and 48 hours later I was in surgery. It's a short procedure. But I think furthermore, it's been really interesting in the way I'm trying to look into my thought processing system right now in how I have my coaching calls, how I have my sales calls, and when our family's going through this, how I'm weighing and assessing the moments and the hours and where to put my attention, where to put my effort. So right now I'm actually driving back from the hospital. I visited her. Both of my appointments I scheduled with my coaching clients. And I recognized I was really trying to put myself in her shoes. And I know that when I was in the hospital, it wasn't for long, and I appreciated just having my phone or being able to watch like the football game, and kind of just appreciate kind of doing nothing. And I know for her, it's definitely lonely, especially when she's been there since 10:30 p.m. last night, and I stayed with her till about midnight. But she had been all there by herself from about midnight till about 2 o'clock today. I visited her, brought her some clothes, brought her some toiletries and things. And it's interesting thinking about sort of the emotional labor that I felt like I was sort of offering in putting aside my content creation goals for a little bit, putting aside my want to still succeed as a salesperson, not answering emails necessarily, but being with her, and figuring and working on taking on the mental load for, our toddler, today my mother-in-law stayed with her, but she's going to be going to daycare tomorrow. She goes 4 days a week right now. So thinking ahead about, how am I going to manage my sales calls? How am I going to manage my coaching calls? Where do those prioritize in comparison to just taking a sick day, moving all my meetings to next week, and making sure that Alyssa feels really taken care of. And I, just like for anyone listening to this right now, I anticipate a lot of women might be. What I want you to consider as you're listening, and even what I'm trying to kind of dissect here, is I think there's this like toxic masculinity piece of life where a lot of guys, including myself, I think, feel pressured to make sure we continue performing and not losing our job. As much as she is also an income earner, she earns maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year. My base is $60,000, and my commissions on target earnings is $40,000. And right now it's just extra with the coaching clients and TikTok and stuff. But there's like this corporate buy-in that we have that we need to make sure we're doing good at our job. And I'm really glad to say in the past, since our daughter came in 2021, and taking on the sales job, and making 100 cold calls a day, I've definitely found a good balance, I think, it's like an anti-balance of like binging making calls one day, and if she has a lot of work to do, maybe trying to be really efficient so that the next day I can slack a little bit in the job, but make sure that I'm able to take care of our child so that she can. And so it's like a long-term balance, but a short-term binge in opposite directions. So it's interesting noticing where my like internal resistance is for dropping everything and calling out sick and trying to be who Alyssa needs me to be who Everly needs me to be. And I'm really glad I'm actually saying this out loud, because I'm realizing how much easier it is than the way that it's felt maybe the last 24 hours. We have our QBR, which is pretty much, as a salesperson, you have to say to your boss, here's how I think I'm going to hit my quota these next couple months. And at this moment in time, not really sure how I'm going to do that. I have not hit full quota for a whole quarter yet since I started the job in March. And I know because I came in with a high level of performance as a sales development rep, making the calls, booking meetings, I know that there's some significant expectations that I'm going to perform and put in a significant effort. And there's a lot of me internally that feels like I'm not measuring up to what I had sort of expressed about myself or had laid out, when I interviewed. And I think there's a disappointment factor that I'm doing that. And at the same time, like looking at a macro level of my life, like Alyssa and Everly, and pursuing a career and an endeavor that I think will make the world a better place are so much more important than that. And at the same time, like, I know that without integrity, nothing works. And so the amount of time that I'm putting into my sales activities probably lacks integrity for what I've currently committed to. Thank you for being with me as these jumbled thoughts sort of come out, but this is really therapeutic for me. I'm hoping there's some self-reflection or reflection or value that's being gained on the other end here. I feel uncomfortable with the situation very much, in that I feel like I'm gonna be letting something down in my life the next couple days. But I think at the same time, if I'm being kind to myself, I think just knowing that's gonna happen. Your wife is going through surgery right now. Your toddler is coming off of a double ear infection, and you both want to have the best version of yourself out there thriving in the world by doing something you really enjoy and you feel is fulfilling. And at the same time, Zach, you promised yourself, you promised other people that you would show up in a certain way and you would get compensated for doing that. And right now you're getting compensated but not showing up in that certain way, which is not necessarily putting in a full 40 hours every week, even though you put that in your timesheet. I anticipate most of my colleagues are probably not putting in actual 40 hours a week. I could be wrong about that, but I think what I need to do after I think we get through this short little season here of getting Alyssa back on top of her health, Everly back on top of her health, when we're back into the swing of things, maybe in a week or two, I think is being a little bit more strategic about my time allocation and being really clear about, okay, this day of the week is meant more for this, and this day of the week is meant more for this, and this time slot is meant more for this. And I think giving yourself, giving your team, your family, those expectations up front so that you can be much more fully there when you're there for those different situations, I think is a really valuable thing. And time blocking, I can't say enough about effective time blocking. It is really valuable. I think that's what needs to do. I think the hurdle that I consistently come across and I struggle with is oftentimes I get to that moment in time and I don't want to do the thing, or I set time blocks off at reoccurring and I don't do them. And so I say to myself, okay, well, we need to do it manually, because if you do it manually, it's much more likely to happen versus it'll just become this ghost event in your calendar that you never follow through on. So a mix between that and I think maybe breaking down the math, saying, all right, how many hours a week am I doing my job? How does that feel in my gut? Do I feel like I'm actually putting in the effort that I committed to when I took this job? And I think if I were doing that, I would not feel as bad about the situation. And I think that's going to help me with my path forward. Thank you for listening to me. If in fact you're still here, this has been highly therapeutic for myself. I hope this makes a difference. DM me on Instagram if you found some value in this. Have a wonderful day and week.